It's 11:30 p.m. You're lying in bed, the glow of your phone is hitting your face, and you just did that thing. You opened your banking app, scrolled past a few transactions you don't quite remember making, saw a number that felt lower than it should be, and felt that familiar, heavy knot tighten in your chest. It's not quite panicking, it's more like a low-grade, persistent hum of anxiety. It's the feeling that you're working hard, maybe harder than you ever have, but the math of your life just isn't mathing. You look at people around you who seem to have it figured out, and you wonder if you missed a memo. You start to tell yourself a story. Maybe I'm just bad at money. Maybe I don't have the discipline. Maybe I'm just not built for wealth. I want to stop you right there, because that feeling, that chaos, it isn't a character flaw. You aren't lazy, and you certainly aren't unintelligent. In fact, some of the smartest people I know, people with PhDs and high-level careers, are absolute shipwrecks when it comes to their personal finances. The truth is, wealth isn't a math problem. If it were, every math professor would be a billionaire. Wealth is an architectural problem. If your house keeps flooding, you don't blame the water, you look at the foundation. Most of us are trying to build a financial future on a foundation that was never actually engineered. It was just sort of thrown together by accident and impulse. Hi, my name is David. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a guy who loves figuring this stuff out, knows a thing or two about how money works, and I'm here to walk you through how to stop reacting to your money and start directing it. What we're doing today is moving past the quick tips and hacks. We're talking about a 90-day wealth reset. I've found that a weekend of frugality doesn't change a life, but 12 weeks of intentional re-engineering does. We're going to break down 6 counterintuitive lessons that take you from that late-night anxiety to a place of strategic, calm control. And just so we're clear, there's no course to buy at the end of this, no masterclass funnel. I just want to show you the blueprints. Lesson 1. Your life is a McDonald's franchise. The first thing we have to do is address a radical identity shift. Most of us move through the world as consumers. We see money come in, we see things we want or need, and we exchange the money for the things. When the money runs low, we stop. When it arrives, we start again. To fix this, you have to stop acting like a consumer and start thinking like a business owner, specifically like a franchise owner. Think about a local McDonald's. Whether you like the food or not, you have to respect the machine. The person running that restaurant knows, to the penny, how much they spent on buns yesterday, what their electricity cost was, and exactly what their net profit is at the end of the shift. They don't guess. They don't hope there's money left over for the lease. To build your financial franchise, you need a 90-day audit. This is the part where most people check out because it sounds like homework, but stay with me. You need to pull your statements from the last 3 months and put every dollar into 3 simple buckets. Fixed expenses that keep the lights on stuff, rent, utilities, basic groceries, insurance. Discretionary expenses, the wants, dining out, streaming services, that hobby you spent $200 on and haven't touched since Tuesday. Debt payments, credit cards, car notes, student loans. When you do this, you almost always find leaks. I remember doing this and finding a $225 a month Uber habit. I wasn't traveling for work, I was just being lazy on Friday nights or hitting snooze too many times on Monday mornings. That's $2,700 a year for the privilege of not walking or taking the bus. When you find your net profit, which is just your income minus these buckets, you gain clarity. Clarity kills anxiety. Once you know your numbers with surgical precision, you aren't bad at money anymore. You're just a manager looking at a balance sheet. Lesson 2. The invisible wealth builder. Here is the most honest thing I can tell you. Your willpower is a liar. It's a finite resource. It's strongest on Monday morning after a cup of coffee and weakest on Thursday at 4 p.m. when you're tired and stressed. If your wealth plan depends on you remembering to save or choosing to spend, you've already lost. The wealth architect understands that human discipline is a failure point, so he removes it from the equation. We use automation. The goal of the 90-day reset is to move money before it ever hits your primary checking account. If you don't see it, you don't miss it. It's a psychological, out-of-sight, out-of-mind mechanic. Here's the setup. On your payday, 10% of your take-home pay should be automatically diverted. Don't wait until the end of the month to see what's left. Nothing is ever left. Split that 10% into two paths. 5% to a high-yield savings account, HYSA. This is for your short-term stability, 1 to 5 years. Look for something paying around 4%. That's essentially free money that traditional big banks are currently keeping for themselves instead of giving to you. 5% to an investment account. This goes into something boring and broad like an S&P 500 ETF. This is for your long-term compounding. By automating this, you force your lifestyle to adapt to the remaining 90%. You'll be surprised how quickly you stop noticing that missing 10%, but your net worth will notice it immediately. You're building wealth while you sleep, specifically because you took your own choice out of the matter. Lesson 3. The 5-minute phone call worth thousands. This is the most unorthodox part of the reset, and it feels a little awkward, but the math is too good to ignore. We need to talk about your credit card interest. The average APR right now is north of 21%. That isn't just interest, that is a corrosive acid eating away at your financial foundation. If you're carrying a balance, you're trying to run a race with a backpack full of lead. But here's the secret. Credit card companies are terrified of losing good customers. It costs them way more to find a new customer than to keep you. During your 90-day reset, I want you to make one 5-minute phone call. Use this script. Hi, I've been a loyal customer for X years, and I've noticed some competitive rates from other cards. I'm looking to consolidate my debt, and I wanted to see if you could lower your APR to keep my business. The worst case? They say no. You lose 5 minutes. The best case? They drop your rate by 5 or 10%. That simple call can save you thousands of dollars in interest over the next year. It's a high-impact, low-effort win. It's you realizing that you have leverage in a system that usually makes you feel powerless. Lesson 4. The 4-digit psychological barrier. In the world of finance, there's a massive psychological difference between having $900 and $1,000. Currently, about 59% of Americans can't cover a $1,000 emergency with savings. They have to use a credit card, which puts them further in the hole, which creates more stress. It's a fragility trap. Your first architectural milestone is a $1,000 emergency fund. This isn't your wealth, it's your shield. It exists so that when the tire blows out or the water heater leaks, it's an inconvenience, not a crisis. To hit this in the first few weeks of your reset, you have to be aggressive. Sell the old electronics in the drawer. Sell the clothes you don't wear. Redirect every leak you found in Lesson 1 towards this goal. Once you hit 4 digits, something shifts in your brain. You stop playing not to lose, and you start playing to win. You've secured the floor. Lesson 5. The 42% science of writing. We tend to treat financial goals like New Year's resolutions, vague, misty wishes like I want to be rich or I want to save more. Vague wishes are where dreams go to die. There is a documented study showing that you are 42% more likely to achieve a goal simply by writing it down. But for this 90-day reset, we're going to use a specific 3-step protocol to turn that wish into an engineering plan. Write the goal. Be specific. Not I want to save, but I will save $7,000 for my emergency fund by December 31st, 2024. The monthly math. Break it down. To hit $7,000 in a year, you need $583.33 per month. Now it's not a giant mountain to move, it's just a monthly bill you owe to your future self. The social cost. Tell one person. A partner, a friend, a sibling. When you keep a goal internal, the only person you disappoint when you fail is yourself. And we're all experts at making excuses to ourselves. When you share it, you create a social cost. You're more likely to stay disciplined because you don't want to admit to your friend that you blew the $583 on a whim. Accountability is the rebar in your financial concrete. Lesson 6. The infinite upside of the growth mindset. The final weeks of your reset are about moving from defense to offense.
Look, cutting expenses is important. It builds discipline. But cutting has a floor. You can only cut so much before you're sitting in the dark eating cold beans. You can't frugal your way to true freedom if your income is stagnant. However, your income has no ceiling. If you haven't had a raise in 2 years, you are effectively taking a pay cut every single month because of inflation. The system is counting on you being too polite or too scared to ask for more. Part of this 90-day reset is advocating for your value. Research the market rates for your role. If your employer won't budge, remember the architect's secret. Statistics show that job hopping every 2 to 3 years can lead to a 30 to 40% salary increase compared to the 3% annual raise you might get by staying loyal to a company that views you as a line item. Whether it's negotiating a raise, switching companies, or picking up a side skill like sales or coding, you need to focus on the top line. Defense wins games, but offense wins championships. A 90-day reset isn't a sprint to a finish line. You don't finish being good with money. What you're doing is building a permanent foundation. By the end of these 12 weeks, you should have a clear tracker of your net worth, automated systems that work while you sleep, and a shield of cash that protects your peace of mind. You'll find that the anxiety starts to lift, not because you're a millionaire yet, but because you finally have a map. The architecture is in your hands now. The system is designed to keep you in a cycle of reactive chaos, but you don't have to play that game. Are you willing to trade 90 days of intentionality for 10 years of freedom? Ask yourself where you want to be in 1, 5, and 10 years. The math is simple. The psychology is the hard part, but you've got this. I'd love to hear which of these lessons feels the most doable for you right now, or if there's a specific financial leak you've discovered. Leave a comment. I read as many as I can, and we're all just trying to figure this out together. Progress beats perfection every single time. I'll see you in the next one.